Today we are going to review and look at, in a different way, the new Mandarin residences on Brickell Quay in Brickell. And I'm here with Maile Aguila and Eduardo Compresi, who is a dear friend and we've worked very closely with over the years. Now, importantly, Maile, we have you here today because you are the senior advisor for Swire. And we wanted to have the voice of Swire with us because one of the things that we want to address with this project, as we do with all new construction, is less of the, I don't know, we don't want to have a sycophantic, everything is amazing, look at this, we love it, and me, mindlessly nodding about how much I love the product. It's more about let's dive into this at a very close quarters level, because if you're watching this, you're probably looking to make an investment and make a purchase here in considerations of the market, of the neighborhood of Brickell, and quite possibly and quite likely the wider market. And if you're going to buy new construction, there's several things that you want to be aware of. Number one, that they're going to deliver the level of product that you're expecting. And number two, that they're going to do it on time. Maile, as senior advisor for Swire, take us through the deliverability of this project, what you guys have been doing in the process of developing this, and how we can trust that it's going to become what we believe it's going to become.
Well, David, if you know Swire, Swire historically is a 200-year-old company. They've been developing, obviously, throughout Asia for that timeline. And Swire Properties, the entity that does all their building, has been around for the past 50 years. We just celebrated it last year. I have been a part of this team for the past 30 years, developing all of the sites that they've done on this island, except for one, which was Brickell Quay 1 back in the late 80s. Today, we've been developing not only on the island, we just finished Brickell City Center, and that created a demand for more exclusive and luxury product here. And so we left this piece, this 5-acre piece, for last because we believe that this island is very special in the heart of Brickell. We feel that locations like this are scarce and hard to find. Possibly this is one of the last that exist. And we wanted to build something that was exclusive, island feeling, and a resort lifestyle. And we needed to do something that had never been done before here, which was to build an iconic tower with a hotel next to it. We did have the experience of the last 24 years of having a partnership with Mandarin. And so we felt that Mandarin was the right choice for us and that this was the right product for this piece.
Usually with big names like Mandarin, Four Seasons, there's a level of accountability that you're being held to. I'm assuming in this case, Mandarin are holding you accountable to deliver this product at a level, because as Eduardo, we were talking before, this is your flagship project. So, I'll be honest, you can't screw this up. It has to be done right.
I think historically we've always under-promised and always over-delivered. And the last site that we did was the Asia project that we delivered back in 2008. At that time, set a new benchmark for this island because we were making the turn towards real luxury. Asia, if you looked at that building, it was a boutique building, only had 123 residences. We came up with 13-foot high ceilings, high quality that had never been seen here before, and it was a tremendous success. So when we decided to develop this site, we kind of thought about what would Asia on steroids feel like. It would be something much grander, much nicer, but with the same elements.
Your builders behind this, the people who are actually going to build the project, you've chosen Moss of the construction group. Big construction group. There's really two big construction groups down here in South Florida that have a pedigree of quality construction, and it's Moss and Coastal. Those are the big two. And obviously, these bigger groups, they're not cheap. There are cheaper versions out there, but what you're doing is you're basically hiring the GC to build your house, and this is the right one. Now, on top of that, you were telling me that you have a team, a formulated team from Swire who are going to be in charge of making sure that the deliverance of this product when they're building is done right. So this is kind of like your GC, having your owner's rep, having someone who is quality controlling the construction of the project, And this crew, you said, is a crew that's been brought together, and you've got some of the guys who did the Hudson Yard up in New York.
Yes.
So these are experienced people.
Plus some of our own people that came from Hong Kong that have been working alongside of us as well to make sure that we develop to the level of quality and standards that this product merits.
Okay, this is a good point because look, if you ever built a house, you don't just hire the GC and let him run riot and do whatever he likes. You have to have quality control. That means bringing more people in, it means a little bit more cost, but it means you can deliver what you say you're going to deliver on time. The timeliness of the project, we're now in 2024, we're talking delivery end of 2028, it could be into 2029. So it's a 5-year run.
Yes.
That 5-year run relative to other products is actually quite a longer run. It's a longer period of time than we're seeing with other buildings. Why is that a good thing? What's the relevance of taking that amount of time when other people are delivering in 2027?
I truly believe that part of it has to do with the level and scale of the project. It's a very large project, and we're doing it all at once. So in order to bring out 2 towers with a 5-level podium and over 80,000 square feet of amenity areas, it takes a long time to develop and do it right. We're all about quality, we're all about luxury, and we don't cut corners. So if it takes a little longer, we expect it to take a little longer because of the magnitude and the size of the project.
Maile, thank you. Eduardo.
Yes.
We've been through this a few dozen times, so we're gonna go through it quickly. I know you can go online and you can see a lot of the details of this just through the website, and you're very familiar. This is a 220 unit building. It's raised up on a plinth. It's 5 acres of project. There's a hotel element to it. This is what a lot of people have already been put out there online. What they're not going to talk about, and what they haven't been, is going into at a granular level. We're going to get into, obviously, the benefits of the project, why this stands out from the crowd, why you should be paying attention to this and not any of the other projects that are being built in Brickell and around, and ultimately the lines to pay attention to, if there is specific lines to pay attention to. Take us through it very, very, very quickly.
Yeah, so I think obviously the location, we are in an island. It's a 44-acre island in the middle of the bay, and we occupy 5 acres. So we have the luxury of space. Nobody on Brickell Avenue has 5 acres to build anything residential. So we have a project that, yes, is large, but it's also to the scale. We don't need to have any amenities on the tower, pools on the 20th floor or on the rooftop. We have a beautiful enclave that offers you, something natural into the scale, so you have grounds that you can walk into, places where you can do outdoor exercising, 3 pools for each of the buildings, a total of 7 pools when you combine that with the hotel. So, and also about 7 different places where they can have food and beverage service, including a Michelin restaurant. So that adds to the fact that the island has control access, which is something that our buyers are really into. And then obviously the design, the architects, and everything that the developer is doing. You said that the developer is was raising the benchmark back in 2008 when they were doing the Asia Tower. I think they are raising now the benchmark for the city. I think that they came here to elevate the standard of the product in this part of the city, providing residences with 11 feet height on the ceilings, expansive terraces with 12 feet deep, storage dedicated for each of the units, which is something that you do not find. You just don't find that in Miami. And also all of these services and amenities. So when you pair that with the brand and the views, just with the views alone, we close deals. Nobody can give you unobstructed views forever, right? Thankfully, we're not in Dubai where you can build islands next to each other. And this is the only island off the Bay of Brickell, and you have these amazing views. Almost all of our units are corner units, so it's not like we have bad views. You were asking about what are the premium units. I would say it depends on the buyer. If you're looking for a small unit, you might as well buy one of the units in the back. If you like city views, we have units that are going to give you more city views and also water views. But all of our residences have incredible views, and no other building in the city can say that. You always have a few floor plans that are going to be challenged. We don't have that here.
It was a rhetorical question, actually. So the situation with a floor plan if you watch any of my, and again, I've done nearly like 40 reviews of new condos in South Florida. I don't have a dog in the fight, honestly. Look, I review, and people have seen my ugly truth report, which I did on new construction, and people said to me, I noticed that when David doesn't like something, he tends to not review it. Well, yeah, they're right, I don't, because I just don't want the developer starting to call me and call his attorneys and say, you know what, he said something defamatory about the project. This project is one of my favorites in Miami. And we're going to get into the economics of it. But you brought on the point, there are really 4 fundamentals when you buy a condo or when you buy a product. And it's this, it's the floor plans. The floor plans mean not just the floor plan that you're looking at, but the other floor plans in the building. Because what you don't want to do is be in a building where there are a lot of small 1-bedrooms and studios and little apartments. Every unit in this building is large. The smallest unit is this, the 05 line.
Right. The 05 line is a 2-bedroom with 2,300 square feet.
Which is gigantic. It's actually the line that I bought on the 8th floor. So these are big, and the terraces are large. And then you move to 3 bedrooms, which is 2,700.
So they go
31.
from 2,300 to 2,826 square feet, and then they quickly jump to 3,300 square feet. And then we have units for every buyer out there. And
There's multiple stacks here, isn't there? There's like
we have
stacks.
what I call collections, and I'm sorry to prolong. We have collection 1, 2, 3, and 4. So basically, as you go up in the buildings, the residences get larger. You have to look at who are our buyers. Our buyers are actually people coming to Miami to stay, moving here, not just second homes. So they're coming with their families. They come from these cities, and where they live, they have big apartments, and they're sophisticated buyers. They have beautiful finishes, so they are looking for that. When they come here, they find the right product. They have large residences that are not only just large inside, but they also have expansive terraces, high ceilings, and the incredible finishes. So so collection 1, 2, 3, and 4 apartments from 2,300 square feet to 5,800 square feet.
And there's a huge relevance to the size of these apartments, and this is going to become very relevant as we start to talk about Brickell and the demographic behavior in Brickell, because as I said, I'm a demographist, and what I do is I study the human behavior and the needs and wants. The fundamentals of any system, the economics of the system, is supply and demand. Okay, this is the first rule of economics. And within that, I study the forces that create demand, and what creates demand is the human behavior. What do people need and want? So the first thing we've looked at here is the floor plans. Then you've got service, then you've got finish, then you've got views. And I say views, I mean kind of location. And these are the 4 things that if you look at my studies and look at what's most important, there are characteristics of very successful products. And we did our study of the best performing condos in Miami in the last 5 years, and which ones appreciated the most. And Miley, we were actually saying earlier on that when you looked at this, you'd actually looked at designs and the elements that they had at the Four Seasons and Surfside, which currently ranks as the most expensive dollar per square foot condo in South Florida. In fact, they've just sold a unit there was $6,300 a square foot, very high number. But whether it is, and again, Four Seasons or Park Grove or Continuum or Oceana in Bal Harbour or St. Regis even in Bal Harbour, these all have commonality. They sit with a big footprint. They have, in the best cases, a brand behind them, which is a true hospitality brand. They have hospitality service at a level that can be delivered on scale, because as I always say, if you're going to have a resort experience from a big hospitality brand, you have to deliver on scale. It's not possible to deliver an element of service in a teeny tiny space. Like I don't go on vacation to a great resort and they put me in a tiny little space. The ability to deliver on scale requires a large footprint. This is 5 acres. There is only a very small, count them on one hand, list of buildings in Miami that have these kind of footprints. And I'm going to run through them as we get into the economics of this, but fundamentally you've got an incredible range of large units in a prime location. When I last looked at this, I looked actually the numbers within the market. So I'm going to run through. So the dollar per square foot, and as we stand today, it's somewhere around $2,200 a square foot. around $2,200 a square foot.
On the mix.
Okay, what people won't typically give you is the broader numbers of the market, and that's what I'm going to give you right now. So, $2,200 a square foot, and I'm going to address the elephant in the room, which is in Brickell to date, the buildings in the Brickell market, or the urban core, let's move out into Brickell downtown and Edgewater, the most expensive dollar per square foot sold to date was in the Four Seasons here in Brickell, which was at $1,700 a square foot. You've got 1000 Museum traded currently around $1,550 to $1,600 a square foot. You've got an LSA sale around $1,500 a square foot. You have a unit, a large unit at the Flatiron down the street in Brickell that was around $1,500 a square foot. And there was an SLS penthouse, which was kind of unusual, that traded at a $2,600 a square foot number, but that's kind of an anomaly, so we kind of leave that out. But there's, the buildings, the top end in the urban core has been somewhere between $1,500 and $1,700 a square foot at the top end. And you guys are now coming in at $2,200 a square foot. Please explain to the audience why that is not expensive in your opinion.
Well, first of all, the reason why we have these prices that have never been seen is because there was never a project like this here, right?
Yeah.
So we have all of these things that you just mentioned before, and we check all those boxes. So you may go to all these other projects and, some of them are fantastic. There's nothing wrong with them, but they're always missing something. One of those elements that are so important for our buyers. So we have a project for the first time that is really offering everything that, people want. They want the services, they want the location, they want the views, and they are willing to pay that price, right? It's what they're seeking for, it's what they want to live. Remember, these are people that are coming here to stay. So they're willing to pay the price. And if you put that in perspective and you compare that with other parts of the city or even other places nearby, it's great. It's a good deal in the sense that we're giving you a lot. We're giving you an amazing product with characteristics that are seldom found in other projects. The finishes are going to be there. Everything that buyers are expecting from us, they're going to get. And they feel comfortable with the name of the property, the developer, with the brand behind it, and they know that they're going to get what they are searching for.
That is exactly the answer that I knew you would give, and it is to illustrate a point. Brickell up until this point, and Male, you've dealt with Brickell for 30 years, you know the market. Up until this point, it was mostly saturated by large condo-based product. 80% of the Brickell market is rentals. So a large number of units out there in the market are A, they're smaller, and B, they're in mid-level product. To me, it's like, if I go and park my Range Rover next to a Toyota in a garage and all the other cars are Toyotas, doesn't mean my car's worth what the Toyotas are worth. No, I actually happen to stand out a little bit, and if anything, more people will want to drive my Range Rover than they will the other cars in the garage. With Brickell, you've got a lot of buildings that are much, much the same. It is a supply issue at times because you have a lot of generic product that is replaceable. Again, supply and demand. What we're looking at here is something that cannot be replicated. And when you look at this level of product, you have to consider it against other product that cannot be replicated, and product that people actually want to live in, because there's no point in having a useless replicated product. It's not enough to just say, hey, it's one of a kind. My daughter might do a one of a kind picture when she's 3 years old. Doesn't mean that it's priceless. The fact is, this is something that people want. And that's why now, if you take out, what you're saying is, this is the first product of its level to be introduced into this market. The last product at this level was the Four Seasons, which today is now going to be, but by the time this is built, it's going to be 30 years old. That's a huge difference. So if that's trading at $1,700 a square foot, again, talking about units in the building that give that prime unobstructed view.
Right.
And that's the thing. You can't just look at every single unit in a building and blend the average and say, there's your dollar per square foot, that's what it should be. There are lines in the building that are the premium lines because they have the best views. Right. Now, in this case, there's a ton of lines, all of them, that can have the equivalent to a best view that you might find in other buildings. Exactly. Every other building in Brickell, up until this point, including the buildings at the far end like St. Regis, have a level of obstruction. What do I mean? Well, I have this view, and I have what I call my peripherals, my ability to look left and right. When you walk into a building, you have your peripherals in in focus. They're actually working. And it's important that if you buy into a building that has something to the left or the right of you, which it does in most cases, in most neighborhoods, you'll always be aware that a certain element of your view will be locked. You don't have a perfect 180-degree view in most cases, or a 270-degree view. What you do have is that here. Why? Because it's on the tip of the island. Now, there are other examples of buildings that have lines, or buildings themselves that have that kind of view. And I'm going to give you some working examples, because now we have to step out of Brickell and recognize that the person buying this is a luxury buyer, and what else would they look at? So let's start at the south, and we're going to move north. And I did the numbers because I think research is important, and you know, I like to be the numbers guy in the room. So going from south to north, Coconut Grove Park Grove, currently sitting at $3,350 a square foot as the top level price. That is for a high floor, unobstructed A-line unit in Park Grove. Then you've got Grove at Grand Bay, top level, again, unobstructed corner view. Southeast corner, that's typically what we're dealing with, $2,800 a square foot. Then you go to south of 5th. Now you're on the beach. You could argue it's a different market, but that again, at the time that Miami, everyone was booming and moving in here and buying luxury, they wanted beach because it was a second home and they wanted to be on the sand. But Miami's changing, the demographics changing, and then again, needs and wants change. But there was a sale just happened, and it was 2803, traded at $4,300 a square foot. Wow. Okay, so twice that of what we're talking about here. Then we obviously have a sale at the Four Seasons. They blend in at $4,500 a square foot, but they've had one at $6,300 a square foot. If you go up to Aquilina in Sunny Isles, which again is very much a second market, they've had a sale this year at $3,000 a square foot. And if you look at Oceana corner units, again, a little over $3,000 a square foot. I'm using examples of buildings that, 1, sit on large footprints, 2, have these unobstructed views, 3, have a high level of service, and 4, if they're lucky at the very top end, might have a brand behind them to deliver the exceptional resort experience. This is your competition. Absolutely. This is what you can compare it to. And if you look at that, it's no longer the most expensive in the room. It now becomes the cheapest in the room.
And it's new.
Yeah, and it's new. And all buyers are doing that exercise. They do go and see those properties. And to be fair, you know, you really have to compare it with new property, but they do that exercise because they want the whole picture. And it's amazing to be sitting. I feel so fortunate to be a part of this because we're making history with this, but also to have that confidence that buyers are coming here, they're going to all those places, and some of them are magnificent, but they come back because the value is there. Yeah. You know, yes, it's probably the most expensive price per square foot here, but they are giving me this much.
And we're forecasting, we're in 2024 now, so I'm giving you 2024 numbers. So part of this exercise is, again, we've seen the history, we know where we are today, now we're going to extrapolate over the next 4 or 5 years. In 2029, I don't know where the economy will be in 2029. What we do know is the population, the microeconomy of Miami is going to be more robust. There's going to be more people here. Why? Because right across the water, you have over 6 million square feet of Class A office that's being developed. You have Citadel's office right down the street. That is a huge project.
Incredible.
So not only do you have population growth, but you have population replacement. That means the income levels of those people moving in is also rising because the jobs that they actually have pay them a lot more money, and they're at the top of the food chain. No surprise, the guys in the hedge fund world, they are making some pretty good coin. Yeah. So, and I imagine that a lot of those individuals will look at what is the best project in the neighborhood because they might not necessarily want to have to drive very far. Yes. They want to be central. And guess what that will be?
And where are they coming from? You know, they're coming from New York, they're coming from Boston, Chicago, LA, San Francisco. And especially when we talk about New York, Boston, and Chicago, these people are actually used to living at the core of the city. So they're used to that live, work, and play element of the lifestyle. And that's what we're offering here. So you can cross that bridge in 3 minutes and you find yourself at the epicenter of the city where you have a plethora of restaurants, shopping, and they have their office, so they can walk to their office, not worry about traffic, come back here to this resort-like, lifestyle, And so that's when I say that we check all the boxes. So they do the comparisons and they look at the benefits, not just with the product, but also the location and the lifestyle, and it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, if you want dining, if you want that kind of like vibrant experience, Brickell has it more than any other neighborhood in Miami. But Brickell Key is a little different, actually. It's a little quieter. It's its own little ecosystem, which is beautiful. The resort, the actual area itself, again, cannot be underestimated. I made an observation actually with you when we were doing many presentations. You know where I'm going with this?
Yes.
So I love green space. For me, I'm an outdoorsy, and actually so are you, Miley, because Miley, you live on a farm, so you more than anyone can appreciate this. The need to be close to nature is so important. Look, I love the city, I love the vibrancy, I like going out for dinners. You know, I love to be in the middle of things at times, okay, but not all the time. Yeah. And the thing about a resort experience that's so awesome, that you love when you go on vacation, is you feel relaxed, you feel that you can kind of unwind, but you need screen space to do that. So this is a 5-acre site, but not only is it a 5-acre site, but the amount of tropical trees and plants, it looks like, and again, fleshing up the renderings, it looks like I'm in Bali. I mean, it has that Indonesian, they've gone for that, well, no surprise.
Actually, our architects, our landscape architects came from Thailand.
From Thailand.
And they've never been seen before, and the name of their firm is Shama, which means earth. So we really handpicked every single consultant or member of our design team, and we brought people here that had never been seen before. And we worked very closely with them in showing them what Miami Beach is all about. And now they put together this magnificent podium because they understood what Miami was about.
Right.
And to do this is no easy feat, because in order to do this, you couldn't do this in Brickell. I'll tell you why. It would be absolutely impossible to do this, because around you, you have water, you have space. But in order for sunlight to travel through, and plants need sunlight to grow, they need rain and sunlight, and again, these two very important elements, what you have here is the allowance of natural light to be cast across it, because the sunrise is going to be kind of over here. Just so you know, sunrise is here, this is your building here, sunset is going to be here.
Right.
Okay? So I know those people who say to me, I just want amazing sunsets. All right, so there you go. And we'll get into that now in a second, the lines. Right. So, because all the lines are great, but it just depends on what you want, and again, how those views are going to play out. But sunrise here, sunset over here. So the sun's going to travel through the day, and it's going to capture this green, and it's going to allow it to grow really well and thrive.
Yes. Right.
And that is so important. We have multiple other videos on the project, and we kind of get into it, but we're going to finish off going through the floor plans, because everyone ends up turning to me and saying, David, what floor plan would you buy? Usually it's really easy for me to tell you what I like. Yeah. I can just go that one, southeast corner. Like typically if you go to a building, it's the southeast corner, which would be this side over here. But interestingly enough, we've had enough conversations that, you know, you've got incredible views from all corners. And that's not for me to kind of like just say, oh, you know, I don't have an opinion, I do. There are two corners here that obviously are the primes, the big units as you go up. But you've got the O2.
Correct.
And the O1.
Yes.
The O2 here is on this east corner, and this is obviously on the west corner. But because of its position, and again we'll show with some of the drone shots, you've got either a choice of incredible city views, which again actually as you can see behind us, looking down the pipe, and we'll show those angles, you get incredible views of the Brickell coastline.
Right.
It's amazing. Now, of course, if you want to get above the buildings, I always say you probably want to be a little higher on this side, on the O1 side, but on the 2 side, you don't need to. You can actually go lower if you want. Of course, it depends on the size of the unit you want. This is the one that very often people will go for because it's the one most looking out over the water.
And we're making it even harder for you, because if you go to like collection 3, which is right here, now we have floor 3 units that give you 180 degrees of view. So now you have pretty much every view you want to see, you know, the city and all. You
can see everything.
So there's a plethora of offerings out there. But yeah, O1 and O2 are very popular lines. We also have a line in the center here that is very functional,
Yes.
that we're selling very well. And then when you go from collection 2 and up, they all become corners in here.
It seems weird to say, but there's really no bad lines. It really just depends on your preference and choice. One thing I have noticed, and again, I'm going to get very specific here, is low floor units, okay? So typically on a building, you will have obstructions around you at a low floor. Let's say you maybe got another low level building in front of you, or you have a street where there's car noise. You don't want to be too low because you're going to hear more of the cars and you don't want to. Or you might have other kind of things that inhibit your view. Very unique and very unusual to this. The building, first and foremost, is actually built on a plinth. You can see this raised up. And now, one of the things about the new buildings that is giving a lot more rest to the residents is that as these buildings are built up, they're much better built against the effects of climate and storms and things that will occur. But the elevation also allows you a bit more height. The gardens below you are stunning. So having that engagement with the plants and trees around you at a low level is actually incredible to have. It's a pleasure because then you get to really feel the nature around you. But outside of that, at a low level, there's no street around you. There's a running path around the island, which is great to have. But then it's just water. So if you like low views, there's very few buildings that I can say to you, a low floor will really, really work for you. It does on this building. Obviously, as you move up, so you get to see the whole of Miami, and it depends if you need a really big unit. The other thing about this is that at the top, there's always in some buildings a few units that are big, like really big. There's a few buildings that might be exceptions, like the Aquilina up in Sunny Hills, that have some really big units to start with. But you have a lot of very large units.
Right.
And this comes back into the conversation about the floor plans, the demographic.
Yep.
Who is your neighbors? Who's around you?
Yep.
Because if you have the penthouse and everyone else has 1 bedroom,
Exactly.
2 bedrooms, this is not really a building you're going to see a lot of rentals
Great
in.
point. Great point.
Real residents in it. Again, we've got those 4 pieces that finalizing coming back to. We've got the views. We've got the floor plans all being big. You've got the service, which 220 units, but this hotel tower, we've said it before, it's not possible to do luxury without having scale.
Right.
And the cost of luxury, the cost of a resort experience also gets expensive if you don't have a hotel element. It starts to carry more weight. It becomes a burden. And we've seen it before in other buildings where they announce a really nice restaurant and they announce lots of services, but then they close them down because the residents get together and they say, you know what, we don't need this. It's just too expensive. Let's just let's put the restaurant on a skeleton staff. Thank you, Ma. It's not sustainable. But when you have the hotel element, it's so interwoven with the project. It's part of the system. That won't go away.
Right.
And the restaurants that you have, it's not just the residents within the building who get to go to the restaurant. It's got life.
Not just any hotel, right? The Mandarin happens to be in the number 1 position globally right now. But a fun fact, the Mandarin brand, the 5-star hotel Mandarin brand, is the 5-star brand that has the most Michelin restaurants in their properties. So we are going to have a Michelin restaurant in the property, along with all these other food venues, and also the spas. They are also the spa with the most 5-star spas in their chain. We're gonna have what's probably, certainly, most likely will become the number 1 spa in the city for many years to come. What they are doing here is phenomenal.
Very, very unique.
And as a resident, you can enjoy all of those, amenities back and forth. You can move around the property and use them as you like. Obviously, whoever's staying in the hotel cannot cross over because this is all about security and privacy, and it's a residential enclave.
But I also think a very important feature when you talk about the spas, the spa consultants that we brought in were absolutely phenomenal. They came from South Africa. And when we interviewed them and we were working with them initially, they were talking to us about not what wellness is today. They're looking at wellness 5 to 10 years from now. So we're trying to get ahead of the game to bring something that is very unique, that hasn't been experienced here before. So we're thinking out of the box. Yeah. And I don't know that many developers do that. Yeah. A lot of them, what they try to do is they get the anchor, the names that bring the attraction of the prospects. But I believe that the way that we thought, we are really looking to the future.
Yeah.
So we're trying to design for the future. And for us as a company, sustainability is very important. We think differently sometimes than a lot of the developers, and we do take our time because we really analyze the site, the architecture, all of the elements and components that form this project. It's been a labor of love that I have been working with these teams for the past 3 years, and we have developed relationships. And that also integrates into
That's an
better
important
design.
point. So it's 3.5 years of preparation to this. It's 5 years of construction. This is, and it's 30 years in the making because this site has been owned for so long. It's always been, since I remember for the last 10 years, everyone would drive onto the island going, when are they going to put the new Mandarin Tower? When are they going to do new? And everybody in Brickell was always, as a broker, conscious about when this was going to get taken over.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's so unique. And this comes back to the final thing. And again, everything circles around, if you're going to buy any product, the uniqueness of it, the replicability. Again, like these other top brands that are appreciated so well, you simply cannot replace this. You can't replicate it. And it's something that, as a demographist, the market wants. There is a crowd of buyers who are very much looking for this.
So it's finally coming.
So one of the things actually that we're going through is how Brickell is changing, because I hope this video serves as not just an analysis of the Mandarin, but also an understanding, a real understanding of Brickell as a neighborhood and where it's going. Because for you to go and develop this project at this scale, at $2,200 a square foot, you've got to have a real firm belief of the direction of Brickell. When you built Brickell City Centre, you said Brickell wasn't the same before that, and then obviously it came and it became this, I guess, hub. It was the anchor to the neighborhood. More importantly than that, as you move forward, what was again, we've talked about cycles, the previous market being saturated by rentals. When COVID happened, the demographic shifts have made people move here for a primary place to live.
Right.
And not everybody needs a house. You know, there's a large number of people who a house doesn't work, they want a condo, but they need elevated living in the sky.
This is one of the most, this area has demographically changed incredibly in the last 4 years. And obviously beginning with COVID, that was the catalyst. You couldn't find 4-bedroom units in any condo here, and if you did,
That's
it would
true.
be maybe a few of them.
Good.
And you would find them actually here.
They were
on
here
Brickell
because
Key.
what happened
So,
was we listened to the
and
market.
you know, and now if you don't have a 4-bedroom floor plan in any of these new buildings, you're missing, you know, into a lot of buyers. So that, and you were talking about that as a demographist, you know, this used to be a place where people from Latin America and international buyers would come and park their money in a safe place, and then they would rent it out to young professionals and people coming here on corporate assignments and so on. This is now becoming the real core of the city, where you find those people, we also find families living and thriving in the middle of the city, which is what you see in these other big cities, where they're coming from.
Yeah, and where do the wealthiest of the wealthy who work in the financial sector want to live if they're empty nesters and they don't have kids?
Correct.
They're going to want to be in a central location,
Yes.
and this is that central location.
And I think the city has done an amazing job with all the boardwalks. We have the 1.3-mile circuit around the island here that connects with that other project from the city. So it's not just, you know, concrete and buildings. You actually can have a lifestyle, you know, of a big city, walking around, you know, the bay, breathing the nice air, and, you know, going to the restaurant.
It is the Brickell Key lifestyles. I mean, I lived on
amazing.
here for a couple of years, and I loved it.
Coming back to the island was a wonderful experience because I left in 2014 to go and sell Reach and Rise at Brickell City Center. And that truly was the catalyst that changed this entire area, toppled with what happened with COVID. Coming back to the island now it's a welcome for me because I feel like I've been like their ambassador for so many years. And for them to see me back here again, it just gives them that stability that we're still engaged in this community and we're very focused on this community. And I think that's a very important factor because the developer really truly believes in Brickell and in Brickell Key. And you don't find that with other developers.
Yeah.
They kind of
Well, there's a lot. I mean, if you think about it, there's a lot on the line for Swire here.
There is.
Both upside and downside. You have to get it right because, you know, Swire is a big group. You have a big reputation.
And they are very focused on us globally. This project is the most meaningful project to them right now. and their entire focus is being here. They visit us quite frankly, very often to see the progress, and they're very much engaged in all of the design decisions that are made. So you've got a very strong team behind.
When do we expect sales, the official, because we're standing right now in a temporary sales office. You have a beautiful $14 million sales office that you're building over like a few feet away, right over the water. When are we going to see that? When is that going to be ready?
I believe in the summer.
Okay.
Early summer.
Look forward to it. Well, look.
And I think it's important that that you especially come by.
I will be here.
And do another one of these podcasts.
Yep, I'm sure I will.
You're going to be very pleasantly surprised.
I look forward to it. So in conclusion, this is a project that if you want more information on, again, I work very closely with Swire. The reason we're having this call, and it's not just a marketing pitch, and it's not just us just talking about the project, it's getting into the numbers and looking at the pedigree behind this. If you want more information, as always, pick up the phone and give me a call. I study the entire market. I will give you a holistic A to Z understanding from Coconut Grove to Palm Beach of all the products out there in the market, and I will tell you why I like one product over another. I do like this product. I do think it stands. It has the right ingredients. There's a formula, the right ingredients to make the recipe has to be right. It has the recipe, the identical recipe of the other most successful condo projects in South Florida. And I see with the way the market is moving, that can only magnify. Thank you so much for doing this with me today. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And again, as always, stay tuned for another video that involves new condo construction. And if you'd like to know more about what we do, you might also want to tune in to our Better Decisions podcast. Thanks for watching.